Next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
What is going on, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a clip you absolutely need to see from the House Oversight Committee where Nancy Mace completely takes the gloves off. There have been growing concerns about what has been happening in Minnesota under Tim Walz with fraud, weak oversight, and massive amounts of money disappearing. Today Nancy Mace is not playing defense. She is digging into an alleged $250 million fraud that sent American tax dollars to Al Shabaab, a known terrorist organization. Watch the witnesses closely when they cannot answer simple questions like whether American citizens should speak English or whether fraudsters should be deported. You know something is very wrong. Nancy Mace calls out the noise from the other side and drops a clear message that seemed aimed directly at a certain squad member everyone knows about. Let's roll the clip and break it down after.
Thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota. Screeching Democrats, like you just heard, at our witnesses. Democrats on this committee don't want to talk about Minnesota fraud because Minnesota fraud is Democrat fraud. You're going to make a great host on MSNBC. You're going to be great. And this is a cover-up. I mean, the very definition of cover-up. And so while we're still trying to understand the scale of the fraud, it appears that the amount of fraud we are talking about could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia. The size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Balyu, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question is really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry, is English the official language of the United States? It's a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by another
parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time. That seems to be a popular theme today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues. I would like to reclaim my time. I think I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Balyu?
Again,
yes
I'm not sure
no?
That's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you commit fraud
citizens.
in this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported?
Again,
how much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
$1 billion? 9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
Most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right, and the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law...
Okay, my next question for you
Can I please finish the question?
No, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate. And if I can get
back
to your
you can't answer my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes. But again, this is...
You didn't name one. All right, so my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about Al Shabaab and the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to Al Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been proven.
How much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somali over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by Al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who Al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, Al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other Al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, Al-Shabaab, this group, is Al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his re-election the other day. Thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley. This is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out first identifying the child care fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations it had contracts with feeding our future.
There is a lot to unpack here, but the biggest takeaway is how calm and controlled Nancy Mace stayed while dismantling the entire narrative. She asks a basic yes or no question about whether citizens should speak English, and the witness Mr. Baloo acts like it is an impossible question, calling it inappropriate. The reaction shows how some on the left try to blur the meaning of citizenship to the point where basic assimilation is treated as offensive. Then comes the moment everyone noticed when Nancy Mace asked whether someone who married their brother and committed immigration fraud should be denaturalized. She never said the name, but it was clearly a reference to Ilhan Omar, whose immigration history has been surrounded by controversy for years. By bringing this up during a fraud hearing, Nancy Mace tied it directly to the culture of corruption in Minnesota, where the Feeding Our Future scandal happened. Fake food sites were created, millions were stolen, and the political machine in Minneapolis protected its own. The most alarming part was the money trail. Ms. Robbins confirmed under oath that stolen American tax dollars ended up with Al-Shabaab. Money meant to feed hungry children was redirected to terrorists under the watch of Tim Walz. Reports existed as early as 2019, yet, instead of shutting it down, the administration attacked investigators and labeled oversight as racist. Tim Walz, who later sought higher office, presided over what may be the largest COVID fraud case in American history. According to testimony, Keith Ellison and his office shut down investigations, which looks like a clear cover-up. This is not just a local issue, this is systemic corruption that prioritizes political correctness over national security. If someone commits fraud, they should be deported. If someone funds terrorism, they should go to jail. That should not be controversial, but somehow it was treated as a breach of decorum. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Tim Walz and Keith Ellison will ever be held accountable? And what did you think about Nancy Mace calling out Ilhan Omar? Like and subscribe for more.